Joining us now is Dr. Gerald Hill, Superintendent of West Bloomfield School District. And Dr. Hill, thank you very much for joining us again today on the MegaCast.
Well, thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here. I know that you've been very busy in the role of these MegaCasts. They're great shows, by the way. Very, very good community.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hill. I really appreciate it. And it's been a big day for education. Last couple of days, we've been primarily talking about education. We just had Chris Wygent on, the Executive Director of the Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators. We talked to Dr. Cynthia Carter, who is at Oakland University's School of Education and Human Services. We had the folks on yesterday from from Oakland schools. And, everyone knows that budgets are going to be tight. Chris told us a couple of minutes ago, the working number, $700 per student. Is that what you're expecting as far as a budget cut for next year?
I'm not expecting it. We're hoping that it doesn't happen, because if you combine that loss with the increased cost, and have a viable program for the community. That's too big a loss.
So, okay, let's get right off to the harsh reality of the day here. So that's a pretty difficult pill to swallow. And so you must be hoping that we're going to get help from the federal government, because the state doesn't really have much additional money either.
No, the state has a little bit. They can help us out with the shortfall for this fiscal year, which ends June 30th. But in order to be able to open with a quality program with all of the safeguards that will be required under COVID-19 guidelines that we have yet to receive, we're going to need the help from the federal government. So I'm looking at Senate Resolution 124 in the state of Michigan Senate, where they're urging Congress to come up with a state and local government relief package, and one that specifically addresses some of the major shortfalls in education funding.
Well, and I assume that you and the rest of the education community are doing all you can to lobby our members of Congress here in Michigan and our two U.S. senators.
Yes, we are, and press from education people across the United States, bringing to the attention of their representatives in the Senate and Congress, because how do we have a full recovery or even the hopes of a recovery if we aren't going to be providing educational services for students that are accessible, that parents can count on, and that parents can then focus on going to work themselves and not being the teacher of students. But some of that may even be required with this new guidelines that are yet to come out. So.
Well, our fingers are crossed. We hope that all works, and that we get the funding that we need from the federal government to help out our schools. A couple of minutes ago, we were talking, and we were just perusing our way through the state's website, looking at some of the amazing things that are happening, and certainly right near the top of the list has been the efforts by school districts around the state to help feed people during this crisis. And we know you've been doing that since day one of the COVID-19 breakout. Is that going to continue through the summer?
Yeah, great question, Dave. We have been feeding students. We did not lose a day in terms of food service for families. Right now, we're doing curbside pickup. The curbside pickups are either at Roosevelt Elementary or Orchard Lake Middle School, and it's a couple times a week. The students are getting breakfast and lunch 7 days a week, and anybody can sign up and pick those meals up. We are going to continue that program throughout. So what the interest is and what the need is, and we currently still have the 2 locations, but we'll monitor that as we go. But we intend to be serving the breakfast and lunch meals through August the 25th, which are going to be our planned first day of school. So we have plans to continue that. It's been approved by the state and the federal government, so the funding is there for that service.
You are the first district in the state of Michigan to put together a plan for the fall, if I'm correct, and certainly got a lot of notice by others as they were working on their plans. Meanwhile, article in the Oakland Press came out last week that included a survey stating that 30% of parents are worried about the coronavirus, COVID-19. may not feel comfortable about their children returning for in-person classes. We've also seen some reluctance of people to get back out in the community. Erica was just out in the stores, and when these various businesses open up, people don't just swarm out. They're a little cautious. So I wonder if you saw the Oakland Press survey and you have any thoughts about it.
Yes, and our internal surveys indicate that about 30% of our families are telling us as of a May 23rd survey, and we have close to 1,400 families, and that's not duplicates of families with multiple children. So that's a good percentage of our student population. About 30% families say they want remote instruction only. Now, I would be willing to bet that about 30% want face-to-face only, because they're pretty worn out. And in all honesty, not all homes have a good setup for learning at home, and so there's that counterbalancing need. So our plan, that the framework that we have been developing, and we were one of the first to come out with a framework, it's a continuum of options. And that continuum goes from, we'd love to have everybody back face to face, back to the way we were pre 16th. The likelihood of that doesn't look all that hopeful at this point. And so we have a blended learning option where we will have 50% of our students in attendance and 50% not on any given school day. And then it goes all the way to that totally remote option. And our staff have been working day and night in terms of developing Lakers Online, is what we will be calling our totally remote option. And that will be staffed by West Bloomfield teachers. It will be West Bloomfield curriculum. It will be open to all residents within West Bloomfield School District. And then we will have the blended learning option as well. And then depending on what the governor's task force for continuation of learning comes up with, we will be following all of those guidelines. But we know enough of the guidelines that we have been looking at food service and transportation and maintenance and custodian and what we need to do differently to accommodate the face-to-face part of the plan.
So forgive me, Dr. Hill, because I'm usually doing about 20 things in the background while I'm doing the show. Did I hear you say that this Laker.com or this new interface, this new is going to be available if parents want to have their students stay home 100% of the time? Or is there going to be a specific plan that all students will participate in that will have them at home at some point and in the school at some point?
Yes to both.
Really? Okay, great.
We will definitely have the online program only available. Now, within that, we will try to carve out times where teachers can have office hours and be meeting with students and that type of thing. But it's basically an online program, and there are several models out there that we're looking at.
Well, I mean, that's remarkable, really. I mean, there's always good that comes out of everything. And I guess the good that comes out of this is your opportunity to create some individually designed education and be able to really deploy that.
Yeah, yes, and our staff has been remarkable in their dedication to that effort. The creativity within the teaching and learning department, the foresight to put together a plan. One of the key components of that plan is a new learning management system, and that's getting real technical, but it will be a lot better than with our Google Classrooms, which is very cumbersome to navigate for the end user. And so this new learning management system will be a whole lot more streamlined for students and for families and for teachers. And it'll be a sort of like a one-stop remote shop kind of environment for teaching and learning.
So yesterday we had Dr. Wanda Cook Robinson on the air from Oakland Schools, and I know you guys interface quite a bit. Is there more that we can do to combine services between districts through schools to be able to reduce cost, or have we pretty much tapped that out? I mean, I know that Oakland Schools is already involved in your district, but the things that we can do at a countywide level to either combine services or help solve some problems regionally.
Sure, and to Dr. Cook Robinson's credit, they are always looking at ways to combine forces like consortium type purchasing, and they will continue to do that. We use technology services. We have a contract with Oakland Schools, as several school districts do. We're small enough that we don't have that expertise in house, and so we hire them. We're also looking at different ways of cooperating. The Oakland County superintendents, as an example, are working with Oakland Schools on several different committees dealing with the back to school planning, and we are a part of those committees as well. So we'll tap into that, and so there are multiple ways that we can look at to combine forces and become more of economy of scale purchasing.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, each of the school districts historically have had their independence from each other. But as things go online, maybe there's some things, even from a curriculum standpoint, that you could be doing together.
Yeah, there's no sense recreating the wheel. We can combine forces, combine resources, combine the skills and the capacity of all the districts, and put together more of a unified approach to this. Ours is called classroom to cloud framework, but when you peel back all the layers, the continuum is the same for everybody. Everybody's going to have to look at an online version. Everybody wants to have face to face, but we're all going to probably be in that gray area in the middle for some time until there is more assurance that the CDC has regarding a vaccine or a treatment for COVID-19.
And in talking to the superintendents yourself and your colleagues around our service area, you folks all talk to each other. So this is good. And I imagine you've been on the phone even more than you have in the past. Dr. Cook Robinson alluded to it yesterday as well. So if there are solutions that you can work on together, you have a good framework here in our backyard and a good mutual respect.
Yeah, that's true. And you mentioned Chris Wygant. He's the outgoing executive director for the MASA, the Michigan Association of Superintendents. And one of the things that they do, we tap into that group as well. And so there are statewide consortia, there are countywide consortia, and several of us are in several of the various groups. And so that way we can share resources and not have to go into this blind. And the key is what's best for students. What's best for students' safety? What's best for teachers' safety? We mentioned parent preference. We have a lot of teachers who are age 60 or older or have some health conditions that may come in to comfortable with face-to-face at this point too. So we will match that up in our plan where we have teachers that focus more explicitly on the remote learning and others on the face-to-face.
Tyler and I are also both wondering, from a somewhat selfish standpoint, whether we're going to get to call any football games on the radio this fall. You've been looking into your crystal ball on that one? Is that off the table?
I think it's still being looked at by the MHSAA. I know they're starting to have some guidelines regarding practices and off-season workouts, and we will be implementing those. It remains to be seen what the rules will be or guidance will be for the games themselves. If there are games, how many fans in the stands? You may be your role may increase. It might be online play-by-play that we watch rather than in person, but we'll see how that goes. One of the things that I need to stress on that is all of the decisions that people are making are doing with the eye towards safety for students and making it not only a safe environment but a healthy environment, but not taking away opportunities that students have. Several of them are really enjoy the extracurricular, whether it's football or choir or band or orchestra, and those are all things that we have to look at a little differently under the current circumstances.
Well, I can't speak for Tyler. He's in here. He can chime up on his own. But if we are the only ones in the stands broadcasting the event, that will still be there if that situation is where we end up. But I hope for the students' sake that at least some of the activities, athletic and extracurricular activities, are able to proceed. Just thinking here for a minute, Dr. Hill, and you're such a good friend of ours in the show, and everything that we do at Civic Center TV and Lakes FM. I'm just thinking friend to friend here. I know the term new normal is the term, but I'm just thinking and wondering, are we ever going to get back to forget new normal? Are we going to get? It's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Are we going to get back to normal? Do you see that at some point for us?
Every time I think I see it, I hear a report from Dr. Fauci at the national level, and I go, well, I guess not. I mean, so I think we have to really pay attention to the medical expertise. And this is an issue that sometimes is frustrating because it's not a political issue. It's not an issue of will. It's what's the prudent approach from a medical perspective. The inconvenience of wearing a mask, I'll go for that and have a little bit more freedoms as opposed to not wearing masks and starting the pandemic all over again or continuing it. So.
Well, I'm confident that we're going to get there, and we will look back on these days and go back into the archives of all these interviews we've done. I'm sure sometime after I retire and go look back at 2020 and remember this crazy year that we had and all the adjustments that we had to make and how difficult it was, yet all of the changes changes for the good that have really come out of this. I'm sure that's going to be the case. Dr. Hill, thank you for being with us. I have one final question. People in your community and probably in some of our other communities around Oakland County might drive up the road and like they do in West Bloomfield and Orchard Lake Road and see the construction of a big school building being constructed and say, well, they have a lot of money. They can build this big school. Can you explain how the difference between capital and operating and how all that works? Because you can understand how, we're here talking about this terrible educational budget crisis and they see the construction going on and people need to make sense of that.
Yeah. So I would be pleased to. So in 2017, we passed a bond issue that provided funding for construction of the new school plus renovating all of our other schools. And that money is explicitly earmarked, and we can only spend it on construction-related projects. We cannot put it into operations. However, when we get the new middle school built, that means we go from 2 middle schools to 1, so we will save operational dollars because we won't have to have duplicate administration, duplicate services, et cetera. So we will be saving operational dollars. And that's a credit to the taxpayers, the school board for putting the issue on the ballot, and the taxpayers for supporting it. And so we are excited about it. It's starting to come out of the ground. You can see the block work going up right now, and it's going to be a fantastic learning facility. And we are looking at how to make that as safe and functional a building as possible. The design is fantastic. One other thing I would like to say, and sure. This goes more to you and your team, the mega casts that you've been doing over the last several weeks have been invaluable service to our community, and we're pleased to participate in these because it's a way to get the word out locally what's happening. A lot of times local news gets drowned in all of the dynamics and clutter of the national or state scene, and I think you guys are providing a fantastic service for the residents and for the people like me and others you interview to tell our stories and to express ourselves in terms of here's what we're trying to do for making our community a fantastic place. And I really appreciate Civic Center TV's approach to the megacast and the role you're playing in this whole pandemic.
Well, thank you very much. We are appreciative of your comments, and it's been hard work. We have a whole team. There are more people working on this broadcast. I mean, from Larry, who is our Zoom producer, to Jeff, who's the executive producer of the show. All the social media needs to be handled. We have to do the show. It's not a simple process. So we have a great team here, but it's a labor of love for each and every one of us. So thank you for your comments. And a huge thanks to the schools, because you and your colleagues around our service area have been fantastic guests, been very willing to come on and share the information. And we really appreciate the 3 radio stations that we're on are all radio stations that are licensed to school districts here. And given the current situation, I think we're putting them to good use right now. So thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Hill, good to be with you today. Thanks again, and best of luck through these challenging days ahead.